We felt that there was a need in our community, in our state, and really across the country to fill the void where the Republicans and the Democrats might leave off, where we really have a progressive movement, grassroots, something that the senator taught us all about, a way to bring people together and really get good progressive candidates elected on the state and local level. So,
progressivism is certainly more than party politics. There's definitely apart from party politics. It's not just Democrat or Republican, farther to one side or the other. The progressive movement historically, and again, this groundswell of populist progressivism in the United States isn't exactly about parties. So particularly in Nebraska, we're open and welcoming to partisan and nonpartisan, independent, Democrat, Republican, red, blue alike, people who are interested in seeing positive social progress, because that's what progressivism is all about. Historically, progressivism, the progressive era, was at the end of the 19th century. It was in a time when robber barons and the inequality in America had sort of reached its pinnacle, and people said enough is enough. This inequality is actually detrimental to our country and our society moving forward. And unfortunately, every year, more and more people feel more and more like that. And I think that's why you see a groundswell movement, more than a campaign, a real movement of progressivism, again in the United States. So next week, it's unlikely that Bernie Sanders is going to become the Democrats' nominee. We've still got our fingers crossed. I still think he would be the best candidate for the party, and I think he would be the best president for our country. But that's unlikely to be the case. But that doesn't mean that progressivism stops next week in Philadelphia. Rather, the campaign becomes a continuing movement that had started during an individual's campaign and carries on with the ideals of raising the minimum wage to a livable wage where people can have a fair shot at a good life. Eliminate the idea of the working poor, right? Providing health care for all Americans, everyone in our country, whether that be through single payer or a public option, really providing health care for all Americans, because that's a fundamental necessity to live the kind of good life that is the progress of the American dream. Right? Those kind of issues transcend an individual's presidential campaign. And so that's what this sort of progressive movement is all about. And again, looking back historically, that inequality that we saw leading to the progressive era 100 years ago is prevalent again in our society. At no time have we seen the ultra wealthy, the richest of the rich, having a bigger share of the pie. Right? Since the financial catastrophe, thanks to Wall Street engineering, financial engineering, we have seen all of the economic gains of the last 10 years go to a tiny sliver of the richest part of our country. And that's not moving us all forward. That's not social progress. That's not improving the quality of life for almost any of the people. And that's why you see this progressivism happening again. And that's why the folks who are supporting the senator's campaign as the presidential nominee are looking at supporting a movement like Progressive Nebraska. I'm really looking to hope that our country can come together, not against something, but for something, right? And I think that's fortunately one of the positive aspects of what Progressive Nebraska is all about, is that it's a group of people who are standing together for something.
Good.
We're not never anything. Right? We are for positive social progress, an improved quality of life for all Nebraskans, and indeed all the rest of the United States as well. We'd like to see all people moving forward with positive social progress, and that's possible. Yeah, right? I think that's what progressivism is all about. Right? I think that for me personally, I am acknowledging what will likely happen in Philadelphia, that it is likely that Hillary Clinton will secure the nomination for the Democratic Party. We will have the choices between this week's nominee, Donald Trump, and next week's nominee, Hillary Clinton. Right? I recognize that that'll be the likely choice in November. And as discouraging as that is, right, I don't know what my decision will be personally. I have been asking people routinely for weeks and weeks to convince me why I should be voting for Hillary Clinton, because I'm not seeing it right now. She hasn't been my candidate in the past. Right now, she's not my candidate. And in November, I'm going to have to stand in the voting booth and find out how I feel. And I need somebody to convince me why that has to happen, right? I just signed a petition to put Jill Stein on the ballot, right? And I know that write-ins are a legitimate option. And I want to know, why is it that I have to vote for somebody? And not just why do I have to vote for somebody, but why should I vote for somebody?
Right.
Why should I support somebody? And I know that the question of convince me why I should support Hillary Clinton is a difficult one, because a lot of folks who are Hillary supporters have said, you know what? I don't think there's anything she could say or do that would convince you. And honestly, I think that's right. I think that what I'm looking for is systemic change. Issues that are important to me are the fundamental ones that have led us to the problematic situation we're in. Campaign finance reform and electoral reform are paramount to actually fixing our political system so that the political system can implement fixes to other problems that have arisen in our society due to defunct, defective politics. And we have to fix that first before we can address other issues. And I think that kind of systemic change, a message of systemic change, absolutely cannot be carried by somebody who succeeds in the current system. So firstly, there's no reason to think that Hillary Clinton would ever bring forward a message of systemic change because she doesn't believe in it. She's winning the current system. She is the quintessential insider politician, and it's working. And I think that is an indictment of our politics at large, right? So there's no reason to think she would ever want to bring that forward. And secondly, if she had a full 180 change of heart and said, I cast off the political system, the game that I have won, I dismiss, I don't think she could carry the message. I just don't think a 25-year career of insider politics is going to let people in 4 months believe that she is legitimately concerned about systemic change. So I don't think that the one thing that could bring, never Hillary or Bernie or bust folks into a support of Hillary Clinton is a message that she can't carry. And so I think there's truth in the fact that there is nothing she can say to win people's votes, to earn their support. And I'm looking. I want to hear it, but I have never heard anything. Unfortunately, most people fall back to some weak argument about if you don't vote for Hillary, you're voting for Trump. And that's just false. That's just across the board not true. Not punching the vote for Trump is how I don't vote for Trump. Not punching the vote for Hillary is how I don't vote for Hillary. Writing in another name is how I vote for somebody else. If she happens to succeed, marking the box for Jill Stein is how I vote for Jill Stein. But this false dichotomy of who you don't vote for means who you do vote for, I just don't accept. And I haven't heard anybody give me anything better than that. Nobody has anything better than, well, you have to vote for her so you vote against him. That's not working for me. I'm just not there. And I've got 3 months left for somebody to convince me with something else, but nobody around has anything else yet.
We just transitioned from being the Nebraskans for Bernie group. We did a lot of great grassroots work here. The senator won Nebraska, as you may well know. And the two things that we're focused on right now, since we just recently transitioned, we're going to be working with the city council here in Lincoln and the city council in Omaha to get some recycling issues passed, because we've got a couple of city council members that won't budge on it, and it's something really important in our community. And then I know we'll be helping with the Retain Adjust Nebraska, which is a campaign to make sure that when keeping the death penalty legal on the ballot or keeping it illegal comes up, I can't remember, that we can go ahead and keep that as something that's not available as a method of punishment in our state. So
we have an interesting politics in Nebraska in that our governor is unpopular enough that in the last legislative session, he vetoed bills and was overridden 4 times with supermajorities of the nonpartisan and unicameral Nebraska legislature. Our state senators overwhelmingly voted against him on 4 separate occasions. And one of those was his absolute, dare I say, maniacal commitment to maintaining the death penalty in Nebraska. Our state putting people to death is one of the things he's most committed to. He's even spent his own personal wealth to continue to try and fight for that, and has illegally purchased death drugs from outside of our country because he is that committed to continuing for the state to be able to put people to death. And the state legislature, senators across the board said, no way. And so now it's going to be a ballot initiative, which is uncommon in Nebraska. Other states are much more likely to do ballot initiatives. It's uncommon in Nebraska to have ballot initiatives. But Retain Adjust Nebraska says retain the legislature's decision about the death penalty.
Yep.
And so this is one that's pretty significant on our ballot in November, is to retain the decision of the legislature, to override that veto, and to put an end to the death penalty in Nebraska.